You're here to receive a psychic prescription, much like a weather report, for how to best work with universal energies that will be present this week. And that's the week from the 28th of March to the 3rd of April 2020. I'm Kylie Savage Psychic, and this is the weekly Oracle card reading. If you're new to my channel, welcome. And if you've been watching these videos for a while, then welcome back. I just have a little bit of news to give you before we dive into our reading. Last week I talked about a special offer that I was running, which is for a psychic one-question reading, which is delivered via Zoom or email, and that was for 35 Australian dollars. Now, that offer runs to the end of March, so if you're interested, please email me. It's kyliesavagepsychic@gmail.com. That's KYLIESAVIDGE. Oh, I've got to think how to spell psychic. I do that every time. PSYCHIC@gmail.com. Okay, so definitely it's not too late, and if you'd like to book that, go ahead and send me the email. Now, I'm just trying to think if I had any other news. Oh, yes. I would love for you to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that little bell to get notified of when these videos come out. That would be terrific. So now I need for you to take a nice deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Let's all just arrive in this moment. We can do that again. And I want for you now to choose a number intuitively between 1 and 4. Right, now that you've got your number, you need to remember it. That will be the number of the card whose message will just be a little bit more personal, a little bit more relevant for you and, to you and for whatever is going on for you this week or has been lately. Okay, so we have 4 cards from the, 4 cards from the Wisdom of the Oracle by Colette Baron-Reid. And then I've also chosen a 5th card for a guide from the Divine Feminine Oracle by Megan Watterson. And it was a big shout out to all the animals this week. I was thinking about what I talked about the other week or the week before about how, nature's voice is really being heard at the moment because in many parts of the world, the traffic is quieter, especially in the more urban, busy and highly populated areas. The birds are coming back, the monkeys are being seen, wild boars are running around Venice. So I want to give a shout out to all the animals this week, and I chose one card from the Spirit Animal Oracle, also by Colette Baron-Reid. Okay, so if you chose card number 1, you have the Anchor card, and that is No Place Like Home in Protection. Now, remember what I've been teaching you. Cards in protection, especially in Colette's deck, they are just an extra hug from the universe, assisting and supporting you to course correct, come back in alignment, and keep moving forward. So we had this card not last week, but the week before, and it was upright. So that's it, upright. And I thought it was very relevant because a lot of people had just started going to self-isolation. And we're going to be spending a lot of time at home. Okay, so when No Place Like Home is in protection, and remember this is the Anchor card. So this is the major theme of this story in motion, which I am telling. The Anchor card, we've dropped anchor in the middle of the ocean and we have a 360-degree view all around us. So what this is saying to us this week is we are in a time of flux, great change and transformation and coming home to ourselves, because this card is all about authenticity and coming home to yourself as much as it is about the home and the family, things like that. So what it's saying is that coming home to yourself could be a little bit tricky lately, a little bit challenging, because we're in this state of flux. and you may be going through a great time of personal transformation, change, and growth, and the whole planet can also be going through a great time of transformation, change, and growth. And I want you to think about evolution, about personal evolution and global evolution this week, and as you listen to this reading. So remember, I've said before, I kind of think of evolution as moving forwards in a quite a positive way, and we have de-evolution, so we're moving backwards in a bit of a negative way. Although there's no such thing as standing still, as you said, the change is a constant. We are always in a state of flux. Everything is always in a state of flux. It's either growing and being renewed and coming to life, or it is regressing and decaying and being transformed into something else. So why it's difficult at the moment, or challenging or tricky, to come home to ourselves and to find our authentic voice and to be able to express our authenticity at the moment, is that there is this extra layer of sensitivity at the moment. There's this extra urge, and this came up, quite a few readings back, to be silent, or there are forces that would like to silence us. I'm talking about the energy that I'm picking up on, not a specific voice out there. Lots of voices, lots of vibrations, lots of energy that want us to. And if we listen to that voice that wants to suppress and silence us, and that doesn't give us the room to expand and grow and change and explore, and we're like newborns at the moment, doesn't give us the opportunity or encourage us to feel safe to take risks, like when you're caring for babies, you go as a parent or a carer, you go and you clear out the baby's environment to make it safe for them to explore it. For newborns, you go and not newborns, and as your child gets to crawling and walking stage, you go and you put the covers over the power points, and you make sure no electrical appliances are going to pose a danger to the child. And one of the best things you can do is get down and crawl around the floor yourself and look at things from the baby's perspective. So what I'm picking up on is there has been this kind of building pressure to be quiet, to not buck the status quo, to not engage in resistance, to not rebel in a healthy way, to not test the boundaries as a baby would, to not, push at things for them to change, to test things out and explore and take risks. There has been this kind of pressure, and it's getting more intense, and that's completely understandable, because this is talking about where we're at as a species, and that intense polarization that is really, really happening at the moment. So, there's always a voice on this side of the fence, a voice on the other side, and the voice in the middle. And the middle ground is what's been, very quickly disappearing. So the thing is, and the message of this card is, even when it does not feel conducive to take risks, even when it doesn't feel safe to explore or to express yourself, or to change the way you've done things, to change your thinking, to change your way of being in the world, especially when it doesn't feel safe, this is the time when we still need to do it. And I'm just, putting some boundaries around this and cautioning you, because I can't be responsible for your choices and actions. I'm just the messenger here, relaying the message that I have from Spirit. And yet this is happening for me in my own life. And this is my point of reference, my point of understanding. You're getting this message through my filters and my own personal evolution and growth. And this is what I'm feeling, and this is what I'm tuning into, and what I'm picking up on, and what I can see is that we are really finding our real, authentic and true voice when it's extremely difficult to have that, and when it's very, very difficult to express our authentic selves. And your authentic self, you may have felt like, oh wow, I found my authentic self, but we're never done. You never get to the, nirvana. You never get to this perfect finished product. You're always changing and growing. So we're just peeling off another layer of authenticity, and we're finding deeper and deeper layers. And this is the process that we are all going through. We are all on this spectrum of change and transformation and growth, and we are all at different points along that spectrum. Some of us are fully resistant to it. Some of us are embracing it, so much, and they did this years ago. And, some of us are really struggling. Some of us are like, what? And you know what? Wherever we are on this spectrum, that's okay. That's really, really okay. And spirit support you no matter where you're at. So please, I say this all the time, but please have some self-compassion. Be kind to yourself. Understand that these are massive changes that we're all going through, and yet they affect us all in different ways. We're having an individual experience as we have a collective experience. The macro and the micro, like all the lines are being blurred and smooshed out. And yet, what can you do about it? Well, what you can do about it is ask yourself the big questions. Ask yourself, how do you feel? How are you showing up in the world? If you are going to be your authentic self, what the heck does that look like? What does it sound like? What does it move like? What does it feel like? What's your particular experience of this point in time? Do you feel like you're, living your authentic life, like you're being your authentic self? Do you even know what the word authentic means? And if you don't, this might be a great time to explore it. It's so funny how words kind of pop up at different stages in history, and they're kind of become fad words. And authenticity has been one, but there's a reason why authenticity is, a popular word at the moment. Because we are all going through this process of discovering our authenticity. I've always been a thinker and a seeker and a dreamer more than a doer. So I've been asking the big questions in this lifetime for as long as I can remember. And, as a seeker and a thinker and a dreamer, my particular skill set has not been very valued in this world. I always compared myself to the workers and the doers. And, I was raised by one parent was more of a dreamer and one parent was more of a doer. And I was, we really are influenced by that cultural conditioning. And yet I knew as a child, to be an artist wasn't a valuable thing. To be a dreamer, to be a writer, to be a ponderer, to have great imagination, it wasn't valued. In fact, it was very much devalued. And yet, these are the things that people are struggling with now. Those big questions, reflecting, being contemplative, digging deeper and deeper and deeper, asking those fundamental questions about life, the real brain wigglers. This is where we're at. And I'm like, yay, it's the time of the dreamer. It's the time of the seeker. We're heading into the age of Aquarius again, I think. The astrologers can correct me if I'm wrong about that. That's what it's all about. We're headed into that. So go the dreamers. And look, if you're struggling with this stuff, you're feeling challenged about it, you're not on your own. And there's plenty of assistance and support. There's plenty of us that are really into this stuff who still want to talk about it. And we've been talking about it. We've been educating people. We've been the teachers and the leaders in our field, and we are coming into our own more and more, and our authentic voice is coming out, and we're having more courage to share it. So there's support for you if you are interested in this stuff. If you want to stay asleep, go ahead. Maybe it's not your time. Don't worry about it. Don't sweat it too much. Don't think that you have to be something that you're not. That's not where you're at. To be authentic means to acknowledge where you're at. That's one of the meanings I have. Anyway, I've gone on about our anchor card. That's it. If you chose card number 2, I'm madly trying not to sneeze. Why do you always want to sneeze as soon as, it's not really appropriate? If you chose card number 2, we have Yang, also in protection. So remember, cards in protection, just an extra hug from the universe, assisting and supporting you to course correct. So, Yang, I love this card when it's upright because this is like the go card. This is the masculine energy. This is go, 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 creativity, productivity, all the rest. Yay, 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 rah, rah, rah. That's Yang upright in protection. The message is, and this is our next right action to take, the message is not to take action just for the sake of taking action. And I sort of feel like if you're going stir crazy and you have cabin fever and you just want to do something, maybe you just need to check in and say, is that the wisest thing for me to do right now? I'm not saying never take risks or anything like that. Yet what I am saying is, like I said last week, if we co-create from our projections, it's not really the best place to co-create from. If you're going to take action just for the sake of taking action, it's not such a good idea this week. So let's engage, let's be thoughtful, reflective, contemplative, all those things I said about the anchor card, and let's just not run with the first rash idea that we have. Definitely look at, if you need to siphon off some energy, release it some way, do that in healthy ways. Perhaps a little bit more exercise, something, to release the adrenaline, all that sort of stuff. That would be good. Do that first. Before, lots of ideas are coming up. Pardon me. Excuse me. Lots of really, really great ideas are coming up for people because a lot of people are stuck at home. Going a bit Lulu. So if you have all these great ideas, that's fantastic. Write them down. Doesn't mean you have to take action on them. And this can be a incredibly creative time. It's just that this week in particular may not be the time to take action on every single idea you have or all those, brilliant ideas you have. The only action may be just to write them down and hang on to that for a tick. If you're getting into conflicts with people and arguing with people and then you realize halfway through the argument, ooh, you know what, maybe I'm just shit stirring, for lack of a better thing to do. So if you're in the middle of the argument and you realize you're wrong, just take a deep breath. Say, if you can, say, I'm just stepping away. And when you're ready, come back to that argument and, clean up your mess. Apologize for where you may be out of line, whatever it was that you did wrong, and address the real issue underneath. That would be great. Okay, if you chose card number 3, the story of these cards, loving it, is regeneration, card number 46. Okay, so whenever I see this card, when it comes up, to me, this means we have been through some rough stuff. We've been through a real challenge, like a deeply personal challenge or struggle, or a collective personal struggle and challenge. I'm just switching all my words around to hear that. And yet we are coming to the other side of it. And I keep hearing the dig deep, and I want to keep talking about digging deep. And to me, the roots of this tree is, it always reminds me of one of my favourite quotes, which I think was by Peter Marshall. I remember it in a tick. Anyway, what I want to say is this card tells me that we have been through something pretty rough and we've had to dig deep and our roots have had to go way, way down to the soil to anchor us, to hold us so that we could weather this storm and come out better. And when you look at this tree, this is an ugly tree. I mean, come on. This thing's been twisted and bent, and she's surviving. And when you look at it underneath, it kind of looks like lava, but I kind of look at it, this is the fire underneath, and they're kind of the roots, running deep underneath into the soil, and they're kind of vibrant. The top here is a bit bare, but underneath, this is where the richness is, the vibrancy, the life. And we know that's going to come back up into the tree. Okay, what's one of my favorite quotes? I think it's by Peter Marshall. Forgive me if I got it wrong. When I long for life without difficulties, remind me that oaks grow strong in contrary winds and diamonds are made under pressure. And I may have just misquoted that, but anyway, that to me, that quote sums up this card. If you have been going through some particularly rough stuff right now, you need to know that digging deep, and this is your future possible outcome card, digging deep is seeing you through this particular challenge, and you may have to keep digging a little bit deeper. There could still be some storm to weather, yet you are turning the corner. And you are coming out of this braver, stronger, wiser, and you are going to flourish again. So that's terrific news. I'm taking that on board. That's a great relief. Anything that gives us a bit of relief is super important and totally valuable. So regeneration, we've all gone through this transformative process and we will all come out of it. And the shape that we're in as we come out of it really is dependent upon us, our own attitudes, how we process things, our respond ability, taking responsibility for how we respond to things. That is, so there's so much power when we look at our own agency, and that there's so much power here. We may not be able to control outside events, yet all our power lies within us. It's in our ability to respond to outside events. That's where our power is. You'll love this. You chose card number 4. Your card is New Life. So there you go. We had No Place Like Home in protection, Yang in protection, regeneration. Now we have New Life. And the 4th card, it relays details and fills in the gaps for all the other cards. So when I was talking about No Place Like Home in protection, I want you to also think about New Life. There is something new happening in that. And in Yang in protection, so it's saying, don't rush out and take action just for the sake of action. We need to choose a different action, a new action. That's New Life's message into that card. A New Life's message into regeneration is what I was just saying. Something new is coming. We're all going to come through this. Okay, so New Life. There will be a time, and it will be coming very soon, where, we will be the baby into the toddler, into the preschooler. We're going to look back and reflect on this time, and we're going to be amazed at what we learned, what we experienced, and how different we are on the other side of this. It's could be quite phenomenal, the long-term consequences and changes that come out of this. And remember, like Matt Kahn says, what if everything is happening for us? Well, then what does that mean to you? What's been happening in your life? And how can you relate to this message of new life? What are the silver linings? What are the benefits? What were the downsides? What were the difficulties? And what was the consequence of that for you? And how have you had to change and adapt and grow through the current times and situations? You could be a completely new and different person on the other side of this. Who knows? And perhaps your boundaries have changed, your limits for what you found acceptable have changed. You may have had a lot more time on your hands to be able to express how you feel and think about how you feel. You may come out of this with a different job, a different, career path, a different sense of family and responsibility. Who knows? But anyway, if you have thoughts on this, I'd love for you to get in touch. Definitely, let me know in the comments anything that you're getting from this reading, how it's assisting and supporting you. Or if it's not, let me know that too. What's your experience of these times? Okay, so New Life. I keep thinking about how many babies are possibly going to be born 9 months from now. So if you were trying to get pregnant and you found all that spare time at home with your partner or your husband or whoever, that was something that you were incubating, was an idea for pregnancy. New Life is also a card which tells us that there's a possibility of new human life coming out of this. And so yeah, if that's what you were planning, I would not be surprised if I hear from a lot of my clients, especially a lot of them who were trying to have a baby, that they've managed to succeed now. So that was just another note. Spirit just threw that in and reminded me, new life. Oh, that means babies. Okay, so I'm also excited. If you're not trying to get pregnant or anything, what is going to come to life for you? Did you have a business baby that's being born? A new project, creative project, a self-care project? Did you declutter your house and, does your house look amazing now, like a new house? Let's think about all the levels of new life. And maybe you think nothing much has happened, but when when you unpack it a bit, you think, oh, this is new, that's new. For me, I'm going through a massive personal evolution, change, and growth, and yeah, that is scary. And you don't know when you come on the other side of that. If people are still going to like me, or they're still going to like my work. It's always a risk to change and grow. Yet there's a greater risk that you run a greater risk by not doing it. That's why I always look at it. Okay, so new life, exciting stuff. Still trying not to sneeze. Perpetua. This deck is absolutely beautiful. If you are interested in a goddess deck, but if you're interested more importantly in Megan Watterson's work, go and check her out. She runs something called Red Ladies, but it's Megan, MEGGAN, Watterson, and it has 2 T's in Watterson. The cards are lovely. They're all made with this new cardstock. It's a bit thicker. I kind of prefer thinner cards like the original decks, especially from Hay House with the gold embossing. Yet, they are beautiful. The artwork's incredible, and you get a history lesson with every one of these oracle cards. So I totally love that. So Perpetua, the saint of authenticity. I am my authentic self in all circumstances. Perpetua is our guide. Now, I didn't read the whole thing in the book. I think it was during Roman times. This is somewhere in Africa, and Perpetua, just like the cliff notes in the story, she was pulled out as someone who, I think the Romans said you couldn't convert to Christianity and maybe Judaism or something, and they said that the Romans went and pulled out some Christians to make an example of them, and Perpetua was one of them. She was married and had children, and she was put in the jail before her execution, and her father was there begging her to give up her religion and to, abandon her faith to save her life. And she wouldn't do it. And she said, I am a Christian. And she couldn't call herself by any other name, and she died as a Christian. And she also died with a slave who had converted to Christianity, and they really liked that Christianity saw people as equals. So she was kind of more of a noble woman, and she died with a slave, and they'd become friends. So incredible example, and one of the oldest examples of Christian writings. She has her own kind of book. Megan would probably kill me if she heard me talk about it like this. Okay, I did say it's the Cliff Notes version. Anyway, the message is, there is a part of us that feels like we're going to risk dying when we go through a change, a transformation and growth. And that's true because our old self is dying, our old ideas, parts of our ego we no longer need. Anything's unnecessary, extraneous, that all dies, it all dissolves and goes away. It has to, because that is part of the process of change and growth. If nothing is lost, if nothing goes away, then what's different? And, we don't want to be crucifying ourselves for our beliefs, and yet it's kind of like on a metaphorical level, we feel like we're going to be crucified. Somebody, we're going to be rejected. Someone is going to want to punish us for our beliefs, for going against the status quo, for holding opposing, differing beliefs to the norms. And, that's just it. I was talking about earlier, there is this pressure to conform, and the old paradigms and the old paradigms and structures are trying desperately to hang on to their power, and they are crumbling away rapidly. And that's when their teeth and their claws get sharper. And I think on a deep, deep fundamental level, an instinctive, intuitive level, we all know that. And we're kind of shit scared of that. And yet, that's not a reason to stop. That has never been a reason to stop. And it can't be a thing that holds us back now. So take personal responsibility for any actions that you do take from any of this information. I'm giving it to you with a grain of salt. My word is not law. This is my experience, my interpretation of the message, and this is the way I live my life. It may not be for you, and I take no responsibility for what you do with what I give you. I entrust you to Spirit. So you'll get from this message what you need when you need it. Doesn't matter when you watch it, and you will be responsible for your stuff, and I will be responsible for mine. So I'm kind of like trying to caution and preface the information that I give, because that's important to do that. They're my boundaries, people. Okay, Perpetua. So Perpetua is your guide. I believe these goddesses, their spirit, their essence comes to the fore as we need them. And I pull this fifth card as a guide to assist and support us with anything that comes up with those other four cards. And I believe their energy really does come into our lives now to be there for us and guide us through this time and whatever it is we're facing. Thank you, Perpetua. Okay, a 30-minute reading. God, I've got to put in the last one. Now, my daughter and I, we went out the other week, and I said to her, before we did, I'd really like to go and get our dogs a really special treat, because the dogs are going to be working really hard this week with everybody at home. And I want to thank the dogs and just say to them, look, we love you, we appreciate you, and we understand how hard, you work to assist and support us in our lives, and how hard you'll be working. So just an extra thank you to the dogs. And then I was thinking about the animals, and look at the card that I pulled. And I won't go into the meaning too much of this card, because I've gone on and on. And yet what it is about loyalty. It's about authenticity and about loyalty. So look after yourselves. When you are going through all this change, transformation, and growth, it gets rough. You need to up-level your self-care, and you need to be loyal to yourself, even when it's difficult, especially when it's difficult. Know that you have your limits too. You don't have to go out there on a crusade and save the whole world. You're not on your own with any of this. When you do take risks, it does take a toll on your mental, spiritual, physical, emotional health. So you need to up-level the self-care and look after you. A shout out to all the dogs out there doing a terrific job of looking after their humans. If you are a household with dogs, please give the dogs some extra love and care and kindness. And look, I'm an animal communicator as well. You can look your dog in the eye and you can say, thank you. I appreciate everything you're doing for myself and my family, for my friends. Thank you for loving us all through this. I couldn't pick a better totem or symbol for this time than the dogs. Give it up for the dogs. Okay. I'm wishing you so many fantastic blessings on your week. So I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to know how you're going. And please let me know. And I'm trusting that you've gotten something from this reading. I'll see you next week. Still got to look.